This is Kuwait. Situated in the Persian Gulf between Saudi Arabia and Iraq, it went from a fairly quiet country to a strategic foothold in the global war on terror, with more than 350,000 U.S. troops surging through in December of 2002 and beyond. With so many troops and only a few phones remaining from the first Gulf War, demand far exceeded supply. AT&T was the only possible provider who could take on such an epic challenge. And we delivered with flying colors. The first call centers were makeshift air-conditioned tents. Not perfect, but perfectly reliable for connecting with the home front. Where military space was unavailable, we began to ship in containers, redeployed from previous service in the Balkans. But even they couldn't contain the growing demand. The military provided larger tents wherever possible, until one burned down. The infamous call center at Camp Coyote was reduced to ashes a mere 3 weeks after installation. The tent that the military provided was Vietnam era, made for the jungle, not the high heat of the Kuwaiti desert. Next came the less flammable, much preferred hard shelters. By the peak of the surge in July 2003, we had 570 phones in 20 locations. In the meantime, the focus of the war had shifted to Iraq, and AT&T hit the road along with it. We began a 4-year, 18-wheel expansion north to Baghdad and beyond. It was dangerous work done by fiercely dedicated crews. At the time, weapons of mass destruction were perceived as a very real threat, and teams were trained to respond appropriately to chemical and biological dangers. AT&T's National Disaster Recovery Team devised the first 6 centers in Iraq. For convenience sake, these were tents that could be set up in a day or two. Here, the install team gathers to get started. Next step, assembling the satellite dish, moving it into position, and locking it into a satellite signal, provisioning 24 telephone lines. Here, all elements are in place and can easily be shipped in the ISO container. This is the inside of the first call center, a work in progress. At the end of the day, they worked beautifully, if not spaciously. A new day had dawned. After the first 6 centers had been installed, hard shelters were built in Kuwait and trucked 600 perilous miles to Baghdad, which could take up to 3 days. Because the call centers are perceived as morale boosters, the military has been very supportive, as evidenced by this unit positioning a newly delivered site. Thanks to a temporary arrangement with Global Star in 2003, we were able to accelerate rollout of 3 additional sites. While our install teams traveled mostly by ground, occasionally people and equipment were moved through the air. Flying from base to base is complicated and the quarters are cramped, so land travel remains the preferred means of transport. Weather in Iraq can be a challenge. When it rains, it generally pours, then stays around a while. Still, it's preferable to the volatility of sudden sandstorms, which can knock out satellite service. That is, if you're lucky enough to find the call center. Even so, our customers remain remarkably satisfied. Back in Kuwait, at the end of this desert road is Camp Buehring, where troops pass through on their way in and out of Iraq. In 2006, AT&T upgraded the facilities at Camp Buehring to make it a flagship location that would make everyone proud. Buehring centers feature updated branding and unprecedented calling comfort. As you can see, we've come a long way from the first tents. We are currently mounting exterior light boxes to improve visibility and branding, not to mention provide an oasis during the occasional sandstorm. Mostly, we are privileged and proud that we can provide a place to call home for our valued servicemen and women halfway around the world. We also provide a great way to call with AT&T prepaid phone cards and our popular prepaid card donation program, which benefits our most valued customers, seen here in uniform.